And now Ryan Luby's emissions test investigation.
Well, change is never easy, but it is possible. Quite simply, lawmakers would have to get involved. But until then, the people running the emissions program say they have to follow the rules in place right now. Everything has rules.
Brings up the data for the vehicle.
And these are the people who make sure vehicles do not break the rules on how many pollutants they're putting out. Each car has different standards they cannot exceed.
Well, there's a cut point, and it either passes or it doesn't pass, and we have no control over that. We can't say, oh gosh, you know, it only failed by a little, then we're going to let you. We don't have that choice. That's not for us to say.
Renee Allen is with Air Care Colorado, and she joins the state in saying even if you fail an emissions test by just 1/100th of a point, that is just the way it is.
That difference in the fact that some people are failing over really small amounts concern you at all?
We're concerned about our program overall. We take a number of measures in order to make sure we run a good program. I think we do run a good program.
Yes, the state could make changes, and it has before, most recently in the wake of that state audit from 2012. It made more vehicles exempt from testing altogether, the ones 7 years and newer. Also, it cut back on the number of vehicles needing to go through that dynamometer test, opting to test onboard diagnostics instead on vehicles between 8 and 11 years old. But that does not help people like Gail Lollick.
And it didn't pass again.
Remember, her 96 RAV4 has onboard diagnostics, but because it is so old, it had to undergo that dynamometer testing 4 times before it finally passed.
Here we go.
Got to that point after she took it to a shop, paid $200 for their time, only to learn it did not need any repairs.
If we're testing a car 4 or 5 times, it's just fine. That's a huge waste of time and money for us to pay someone to bring it down, and now we're repaying test fees over and over as well.
Her mechanics, like auditors, believe the state should expand onboard diagnostics testing to every vehicle that has that capability. Had that been the case in the last year, Denver7 Investigates determined roughly 10,000 vehicles would have easily passed their emissions test, including Gail's. But if you ask the state and ask Air Care, they argue that the additional testing got those 10,000 vehicles either off the road or fixed, steps to making Colorado cleaner.
I think it's a very reasonable request to ask people to make sure that their cars are not emitting more than they should. It helps the drivers, it helps their family. They're the ones who are closest to the car. They benefit the most from having their car run cleanly.
The standards are such that a vehicle should be well within those parameters when they're testing. If they're not, and if they're only failing by that small amount that you talk about, it indicates there is a problem with the vehicle and it needs to be repaired so that it's not polluting.
Now, if you missed our first story, it is on the denverchannel.com right now. Tell us what you think. Is this program still worth the cost? Have you been run around? Message us, call us. We want to hear from you. I'm Ryan Luby, Denver7 Investigates.